For most of human history, we have been peaceful, egalitarian, and artistic. So about 200,000 years ago, our species, Homo sapiens, we were born in Africa. And then 50,000 years ago, because of climate change, we started to spread around the world, okay? And throughout most of our history, we have been hunter-gatherers. And we don't know that much about our history. We can only guess. But based on the available archaeological evidence, we were, for most of the time, peaceful, egalitarian, and artistic. Okay, so peaceful does not mean we were not violent. There's lots of evidence that there was in-group conflict. So, for example, we discovered in burials people with skull fractures, okay? So there's been violence, but there's been no evidence of organized warfare. That comes much later, okay? That's the first thing. Second thing is that we were egalitarian, meaning that there was no difference in status and power between men and women. Men and women were considered equal. There was no hierarchy, meaning that there were people who were considered more wealthy than other people. And we know because we could not find any evidence of hierarchy, meaning larger houses, meaning groups with special privileges. Now, there are individuals who might have higher status, and we know because they were buried more elaborately than other people. So, for example, shamans, right? Shamans were their religious leaders, and as such, they were accorded higher status than everyone else. Okay? And the third thing is artistic. So, as we know, they were engaged in cave paintings. They built monuments in order to celebrate and worship their religion. So for them, art really was about the expression and celebration of their religion. Okay? So for most of human history, we were peaceful, egalitarian, and artistic. And we know that today we are not peaceful. We are not egalitarian. We are not that artistic. So what changed? Next week, I'll explain to you what changed. Okay? Basically, a new group of people called the Yamnaya came into being, and they had a different religion that celebrated warfare, patriarchy, and wealth. Okay? And eventually spread all around Europe and Asia, and they conquered everyone, and they created a new history of humanity. That's next week. Okay? So I want to explain the evidence for why we think most of human history we were peaceful, egalitarian, and artistic. Okay, so something else that we discussed in class is we don't know what their religion was, but we suspect that it was animism and shamanism, okay? Remember that animism is the belief that we all come from the mother goddess, from one source of life, including trees, animals, and humans. So every living being has a soul, okay? And the other thing is that the soul is permanent. You can never kill it, okay? The body and the soul are different. So it doesn't really matter if you die because your soul will go somewhere else and maybe come back. Okay, so death was not a big deal. And the third thing is that there's a spirit world or another world which is more real than our world. Okay, our world is just a manifestation, a physical manifestation of the spirit world. But what matters is the spirit world. And the last thing is that there's an order to the universe. We have a part to play. So for example, we can kill animals to feed ourselves, but we must pay tribute to these animals before and after we kill them, in order to maintain the harmony of the universe. Okay? So that's what we believe the religion of early humans were everywhere in the world, okay? Including in China, including in Europe. This is Göbekli Tepe, and you can see that this is a T-pillar, and it's meant to represent a human. And inside the T-pillar is an animal. So basically, the T-pillar represents the manifestation of the animal spirit in us. And we believe that this is a religious festival that they would have before they went hunting. And the evidence for this is that at this site, we found a lot of animal bones. Okay? So does that make sense, guys? All right. So again, this is all just review. This religion goes back a long time, okay? So this is 40,000 years ago. We found this small figurine, okay? It's a very small figurine in a cave in Germany. And this dates back to 40,000 years ago, okay? So remember, 50,000 years ago, we started to leave Africa and venture into Europe and around the world, okay? So this goes back to the beginning, the dawn of humanity. This is a flute, okay, that goes back to the same time. So at the beginning of humanity, we were religious. We celebrated our religion through music and through art and through shamanism. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Yes? It's a figurine. It's a doll. Okay? So they believe that these dolls have religious qualities, right? Okay, does that make sense? It's like paintings. Okay? So remember, like they also have these cave paintings where they're celebrating the mother goddess, and they're celebrating the fact that life is a circle. After you kill the animals, their soul goes back into the spirit world, and then through proper tribute and worship, you can bring them back into this world, okay? Okay, this is a shaman dressed as an animal, okay? So now the question then is, okay, if we cannot go back in time and observe their religion, how do we know what their religion is? And the answer is, we have a field of study called anthropology, okay? Anthropology. Anthropology is a study of other cultures. And if our theory is right, then we should be able to find other cultures that are still alive today that practice this religion. And what we've discovered is that if you go to places in the jungle, in South America and in Africa, in Australia, they do practice this religion. Okay? So understanding the religion gives us tremendous insight into the thinking and religion of early humans. And that's what we'll do today, okay? To truly understand what early humans thought and how they understood the world. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? All right. So the first passage we're going to look at is from a book called The Wayfinders by Wade Davis. Okay, this is a great book. If you guys ever have a chance, please read this book. Okay, it's extremely well written. Wade Davis, he's an anthropologist, Canadian, and this recently came out. Okay, so he spent a lot of time traveling around the world to explore and to understand indigenous peoples, people who are native to the land, and they've been there for a long, long time. So this is what he says about a tribe in the Amazon forest, okay? In the beginning, before the creation of seasons, before the ancestral mother, Romi Kumu, woman shaman, opened her womb, before her blood and breast milk gave rise to rivers and her ribs to the mountain ridges of the world, there was only chaos in the universe. Spirits and demons known as He preyed on their own kindred, bred without thought, committed incest without consequence, devoured their own young. Roman Kumu responded by destroying the world with fire and floods. Then, just as a mother turns over a warm slab of maniac bread on the griddle, she turned the inundated and charred world upside down, creating a flat and empty template from which life could emerge once again. As woman shaman, she then gave birth to a new world, land, water, forest, and animals, okay? So this is what we call a creation myth. And every single civilization, every single people have a creation myth. So let me ask you this question, okay? Why? Why do you need a creation myth? What's this creation myth doing? What does it explain? Okay, how the world forms, okay? But it does something much more important than that, which is what? Excuse me? Who are we? Where we come from? Yes. But it's something, yes, it explains all that. Who we are, where we come from, okay? That's what all creation myths do. What else is this myth doing, which is very important for us? Excuse me? Okay, so it's telling us how the universe was formed, okay? What is in here that's very important and which is important for society to function well? Okay, so the woman shaman is the mother goddess. But what's in this paragraph that's very important in order for society to function? What do you need for society to function? You need rules and laws, right? So what this creation myth is doing, what all creation myths is doing, is explaining to you the legal structure of your society, why you can't do certain things, okay? So for example, you can't commit incest, okay? You can't eat your young people. You can't kill the young people, okay? Why? Because that's what evil people do. Do you understand? So what this creation myth is doing is it's basically explaining the legal system, the rules, and why we have them. We have these rules because they're evil. They represent the evil spirit. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Okay. The other thing that you will notice about this creation myth is that it's very sophisticated and very elaborate. Okay? So this is a visualization of their understanding of creation. And as you can understand, it's very complicated, okay? Does that make sense? Why is it complicated? Why is it complicated? Why is this so complicated? There are reasons for it. Why? Okay, so one thing that you will learn in this class is that what's really important is for you to believe that your religion is correct, okay? It is as correct as science. And what makes people believe that your religion is correct, you have to accomplish three things, okay? The first is grandness, meaning that it is huge, okay? It's vast. And as you can see, this is a vast religion, a vast cosmology of how things started. So grandness is very important. Then you need completeness. And the idea of completeness is that everything that you see in the world must be explained in this cosmology, okay? So what this is doing is explaining to you how everything started, okay? Where everything comes from. So completeness is important. The last thing is unity, meaning that there's a beginning and there's an end, okay? As you can see, there's a beginning and then there's an end, okay?